Studio 5 by Anthony Manning.
Chapter 1. 2 callers and a photo.
4, 3, 2, 1, on air!
I hear this every day before my show begins. Usually I'm in Studio 5. I make my show there. Music plays, and then I say, "My name's Faye Friend, and this is the Friends Hour." My show is on Sun Radio. It's on 3 times a week: Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. A lot of the time I'm in Studio 5. I play the music and talk in between it. I love talking to the people on my show. Sometimes they want music. Sometimes they want to talk to someone. When I'm not in Studio 5, I'm in my office. I was in my office one Thursday morning in November when I got an email from my boss. His name's Jason Hill. His office is next to my office. Jason doesn't like talking. He likes email.
The Friends Hour isn't interesting.
He wrote in his email to me.
Nobody's listening to the show. You need to find something new. You need to think of something soon. I want to meet you next Monday for a talk.
I was very angry. The show was good, I thought. But I had 4 days to think of something new. 2 months ago, Jason was my friend. Now, he's always angry with me. My show begins at 11 in the morning. It finishes at 12. The weather comes after it. The time was 11:55. I put on some music. Then I called Wing. Wing Chung works with me. He answers the phone. He also helps me to make the show. Wing is a big help. My mother died in May. Wing really helped me then, too. I was very sad about Mum. I didn't eat, I didn't talk, and I didn't work for days after she died. Wing was nice to me about Mum. He helped me at work, too. He's a very good friend. Wing, are there any more phone calls?
Faye, there's one more call for you, but make it quick.
Wing always watches the time. I always forget. "Okay," I said. "Is it an easy call?"
No, it isn't.
The music finished. The next caller waited. "There's time for one more call before the show finishes," I said. "Caller, what's your name? Where are you from?" After a second, the caller spoke.
Hi, Faye. I'm Simon Jones. This is for my mother. She likes your show, I know. I left home 6 months ago. I don't want to see her, but I'm fine. I'm well, I mean. I'm not far away, but I'm not coming home. I must go now.
Simon was angry and very sad. Families aren't always easy, I thought. My mother and my father were dead. I felt sad about that. "Simon, are you there? Hello?" I said. But Simon wasn't on the phone now. I finished the show with some more music. The weather began at 12. After the show, I thought about Simon Jones again. He wasn't happy at all. In the afternoon, I worked on the show for the next day. I didn't understand Jason. The Friends Hour was good, I thought, but he didn't like it. What did he want? What could I do to please him? I didn't know. I drank a lot of coffee. Nothing came to me. At 4, Wing ran into my office. "Wing, I'm working!" I was angry again. I thought about Jason's email.
Sorry, Faye, but I had a call about today's show.
Was it Jason again? What does he want now?
No, it wasn't Jason. It was a woman. Margaret Jones is her name. She's Simon's mother.
What does she want? I asked.
She wants your help, I think,
said Wing.
She gave me her home phone number and her house number and the street.
Look, Wing, how can I help her? I said angrily. Wing went back to his office. Then I thought about my mother and father again. My father died 14 years ago. I was 11 at the time. He was a police officer. My mother always wanted me to be a police officer too. But I wanted to work for the radio. When I began working for Sun Radio, Mum and I didn't speak for 2 years. Then she died. That was 6 months ago. I felt really bad because we didn't talk. But perhaps I could help Mrs. Jones. But no, I really had no time for that. I had only 4 days to think of something new for my show. I tried to work again. After 5 minutes, I looked at my computer. There was one more angry email on it from Jason. That was it. I went to Wing's office. "Where does the Jones family live?" I asked. He told me the name of the street and the house number. I left Sun Radio and ran to the underground station. I needed to talk to Mrs. Jones. At 5:15, I was at Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus is the nearest station to Sun Radio. Margaret Jones's house was near Finchley Road station. After about 20 minutes, I arrived at Finchley Road. I left the station and ran past all the people in the street. No time to smile, no time to talk. I thought about Simon. Where is he? Why is he unhappy? I walked past a supermarket, coffee shops, and some offices. After 5 minutes, I arrived at South Road. Mrs. Jones lived at number 26. South Road was a street with lots of big red houses on it, and one little shop, number 20. I saw the name, Khan's One-Stop Shop, over the door. Suddenly, I felt thirsty. It was all that coffee earlier in the studio. I needed some water. I went into the shop. It had many different things in it, things to read, things to eat, and things to drink. I found some water, and I gave the money to the man in the shop. Then I walked to the door. There I stopped. I saw something on the back of the door. It was a photo of a young man. Under the photo I read, "Where is Simon Jones?" And under that question, there was a phone number to call. I had lots of questions about Simon, and I needed some answers fast. Perhaps the man in the shop could help me. Chapter 2. A card and a train. "Are you Mr. Khan?" I asked the man in the shop.
Yes, I am.
He said, "Do you know the man in this photo?"
Yes, I do. He lived in South Road. He worked here for 2 years. He was a good worker.
"When did he leave?"
In January, I think.
said Mr. Khan.
I told Simon, you must move to a different shop now. I have 6 shops in London, and I need good workers in all of them, you see. But Simon said no. He wanted to work near home because he needed the money. He loved trains, you know. He wanted to visit Europe by train. I didn't see him often after that. But I told the police everything about Simon months ago. Who are you?
"I'm Simon's friend," I said. "So, why did he leave? Do you know?"
No, I don't. He was always very friendly, always laughed a lot. Then suddenly, everything changed. He was different, sadder. Perhaps something happened at home. I don't know. He was very quiet. Simon's house is near here. Number 26 South Road. Go and talk to his mother. She's a nice woman. She put up that photo in my shop. Simon was very good to her after his father died. He's a good boy.
"When did Mr. Jones die?" I asked.
3 years ago, I think. Are you really Simon's friend? You don't know him very well,
Mr. Khan said. I thanked him and walked to the door again. Mr. Khan went to the back of the shop and made a telephone call. He couldn't see me. I took the photo of Simon from the back of the door and put it in my bag. Then I went quickly to 26 South Road. I needed to talk to Mrs. Jones. A woman opened the front door. She had grey hair. "Hi, I'm Faye Friend," I said. "I work for Sun Radio. You telephoned my studio this afternoon. Can we talk about Simon?"
You came. That's wonderful, thank you. Please come in.
Mrs. Jones took me to the living room. She made tea and sat down next to me. "On the phone, you asked for my help," I said.
That's right.
Mrs. Jones put her head in her hands. She was very sad.
I must find Simon,
she said. What can I do? I'm not a detective, I thought.
You can help me, I know. Please say yes, Faye,
she cried. I thought of my family again. I really wanted to help her. Okay, I said. I took Mrs. Jones's hand. Tell me everything. Why did Simon leave? Mrs. Jones looked up into my eyes and told me her story.
Our family was happy for many years. Then my husband, Peter, died. It was a bad time for Simon, and for me. I was very sad. But Simon really helped me when everything was black. Then something terrible happened.
Mrs. Jones cried again. What? I asked.
10 months ago, Simon found some old letters. They were from my old boyfriend, Jeff. My husband, Peter, wasn't Simon's real father, you see. Jeff was Simon's father, but he left me only a month or 2 before Simon was born. He didn't want children. Then I met Peter. He was very good to me, and we fell in love. Soon after that, Peter married me. He was a good husband and a good father to Simon. But Simon never knew the true story. After he found Jeff's letters, he was very angry with me. We didn't talk for 2 days. Then Simon left home. That was 10 months ago now. Where is he now? I have no idea. But I can't live without him.
I looked at Mrs. Jones and thought of my mother. I'm going to help you, I said. But what could I do? My father was a police officer, but I work on a radio show. I didn't have any answers, but I knew Mrs. Jones needed me.
Thank you very much, Faye. Now, look at this. 2 months ago, on the 21st of September, I was 50. I got this card on my birthday.
Mrs. Jones gave a card in an envelope to me. There was a picture of red flowers on the card. I opened it and read it. Dear Mum, I'm fine. Don't worry. Love, Simon. Now I had the phone call, the photo from Mr. Khan's shop, and the card to help me. But I needed to understand Simon better. Mrs. Jones, can I see Simon's room before I go? I asked.
Yes, of course. I didn't move a thing when he left.
Mrs. Jones took me upstairs and opened the door of Simon's bedroom. I wanted to learn more about him. The room was very tidy, with a bed, a table, a chair, and a computer in it. On the table, I found some train tickets and a model train. I remembered my talk with Ahmed Khan. Simon loved trains. I looked at the computer and I read Simon's emails, but they didn't help. What could I do next? I didn't know. I thanked Mrs. Jones and left South Road. I needed to think. I went back to the Sun Radio building. Chapter 3. Can the CD help? I arrived back at Sun Radio at 6:30. I opened my bag, but I couldn't find my keys in it. So I found my phone and called Wing. It was late, but perhaps he was at work.
Hello, Studio 5. Wing Chung here.
Wing answered. Wonderful! You're there! I said.
You forgot your keys again, Faye. So I waited for you.
Thanks, Wing. Can you let me in? Wing opened the door for me. I went up to my office in Studio 5 and sat down. Thanks for waiting. I'm sorry about the keys, I said, and smiled at Wing. He's a true friend, I thought. Sometimes I thought about Wing and me. I didn't have a boyfriend, and I really liked being with Wing. I didn't tell him all that, of course. I didn't want to lose a good friend.
I've got some bad news, Faye,
said Wing.
You've got one more email from the boss. Jason isn't happy with today's show.
Suddenly, the phone in my office rang. It was Jason. I felt ill. I was back in Sun Radio, and he knew it. He wanted to talk to me. I walked slowly to his office.
Good evening. Nice to have you back with us,
he said. He had a smile on his face, but he was angry, I knew.
Do you remember my email this morning?
He asked. Yes, of course, I said. You want new ideas for the show? I'm working on it.
Faye, this is important. No ideas, no show. And no show, no job. Think about it. And listen to today's show. You really have a lot of work to do.
I saw the CD of today's show on his desk. I'm going to finish working on some new ideas tomorrow, I said.
Perhaps you want to move to Studio 10.
He laughed. The people in Studio 10 make early morning shows.
In Studio 10, they get up at 4 in the morning every day, you know.
Jason didn't like Studio 10 because he didn't like early mornings. Jason opened the window. He had a cigarette in his hand. He sat back in his chair and smoked. His feet were on the desk.
Do you need more time, Faye?
He asked. Of course I need more time, I said. I've got only 3 days.
So, have dinner with me tonight. Let's have a nice evening out. Then I can easily give you more time. I like you, Faye. You know that.
Oh, now I see, I said. Well, the answer is no. I don't need more time. Monday is okay for me. And now, excuse me, I'm going. I ran out of Jason's office, closed the door behind me, and then I cried. I couldn't stop. I walked back into Studio 5, but Wing saw my face
What's the matter, Faye?
Wing put his hand on my arm. Jason's really angry with me, I said. I need to do a lot of work on the show before Monday. Then I told Wing about my visit to South Road.
You feel bad about your mum, Faye, but you can't really help Mrs. Jones. You're not a detective. And what about the show?
Said Wing. He took my hand in his hand.
I need...
He began. Then his face was suddenly red. What? I asked.
Oh, it's nothing,
he said, and he moved away. Wing, Mrs. Jones needs help, I said. And I need to help her. I'm sorry, but I'm going to think about the show tomorrow.
OK,
said Wing.
But you can't do all this detective work alone. I can help you.
Thank you, I said quietly.
So let's think,
said Wing.
Simon left in January. Then he sent a card to his mum in September. Is that right?
Yes, and he likes trains too.
Right. Let's listen to today's show again,
said Wing.
Perhaps we didn't hear something important in Simon's call.
The CD's in Jason's office, I said. We went to Jason's office, but he wasn't there, and the door was locked.
It's no good. We can't get in,
said Wing.
Perhaps tomorrow...
This can't wait, I said. Then I had an idea. I ran back to my office and I took off my shoes. Then I stood on my desk and opened my office window. Wing came after me.
What are you doing?
He asked. Jason's office window is open. I can climb out here and get into his office through the open window.
What? It's not safe. We're 5 floors up.
Don't worry, I said. I put my head out of the window. Then I climbed out and stood on the window ledge. It was very cold out there. I looked down. I saw cars far down in the street. They were no bigger than model cars. I didn't look down again. I didn't want to fall. Then I thought of Simon and of my family. Suddenly, I moved quickly along the ledge.
Be careful,
said Wing. I nearly fell through the window into Jason's office. There I took the CD from his desk and opened the office door. Wing was happy to see me back safely.
Faye,
he said.
You're crazy.
I know, I said. I felt really excited. We went into Studio 5 and we listened to Simon's call very carefully. Chapter 4. The card shop at the station. Wing, it's no good, I said. I don't want to listen to that CD again. Not after 5 times. There's nothing there. I must tell Mrs. Jones tomorrow. I can't help her any more.
Wait,
said Wing.
I've got an idea. We're listening to the wrong things. We need to listen one more time. But I need the computer for that.
So he played the CD on the computer. This time, we heard different noises in the background. These noises were very quiet before, but on the computer we could hear them easily. First, we heard people's voices in the background. Then, we heard the sound of coins,
Perhaps Simon called us from a phone box.
said Wing. That doesn't help us much. How many phone boxes are there in London? I said.
Shh! Listen to this.
Said Wing. Now we heard a new voice in the background.
This is a platform change. The 11:45 to Oxford is now leaving from platform 6.
Simon was at a train station.
Said Wing. He was very happy. You're right, I said. And it was a train to Oxford. Perhaps it's a London station. I looked on the internet. Trains to Oxford leave London from Paddington Station. Then I had an idea. I took Mrs. Jones's card from my bag and looked carefully at the envelope. The postcode on the date stamp was W225. I looked on the internet again. Simon sent the card from Paddington Station. The name of a shop was on the back of the card too. It was Cards for You. I knew that name. There was a Cards for You shop in Piccadilly Circus Underground Station. Perhaps there's a shop at Paddington too, I thought. And perhaps Simon works there. I took the card and the photo of Simon, and I put them in my bag. I'm going to find Simon, I told Wing. He's at Paddington, I think.
Good luck, Faye.
Said Wing with a smile.
Don't worry about me.
He said.
I'm going to wait here and think about changes to your show. Don't forget you're meeting Jason on Monday.
I arrived at Paddington Underground Station at about 9:30. I walked up to the train station. I saw some small shops near to the trains. Then I saw the name Cards for You over one shop window. I went quickly into the shop.
Can I help you?
Said the woman in the shop. It was late and nearly time for her to close. I'm not sure, I said. I don't need a card. I'm looking for a friend. He works here, I think. His name's Simon.
There's no Simon here.
She said. I put my bag on a table and took out the photo from Mr. Khan's shop. My name's Faye Friend, I said. Do you know this man? I asked.
No,
Said the woman.
he doesn't work here.
So I was wrong,
I'm sorry, miss. I'm going to close now.
said the woman. Suddenly, I saw a young man in the station. He walked past the card shop. It's Simon, I thought. I took the photo and ran after him. Then I got nearer to the man. It wasn't Simon. I was wrong again. I walked away from the card shop. I didn't understand. Simon called me from Paddington Station. He bought the card from Cards for You. But where was he? I had no idea. For the next 30 minutes, I talked to different people in the station. Do you know this man? I asked. People looked at the photo, but nobody knew Simon. After 30 minutes, I needed a coffee, so I went to the coffee shop in the station. I asked for a big coffee with milk.
That's £1.75,
said the man in the coffee shop. Oh no, I said. My bag! I left it in the card shop. I ran out without my coffee. Quickly, I put my hand in my coat pocket. I had only the photo, my phone, and my train ticket there. My keys, my money, the card, they were all in my bag. This was very bad. I ran to the card shop. I was hot and tired when I arrived, but the shop was closed. Then I saw the woman from the shop not far away from me in the station. I ran after her. Excuse me, do you have my bag? I left it in your shop, I think.
Don't worry,
she said.
your bag's safe. I left it at the lost property office.
For a minute I was happy. Then I looked at my watch. It was 10:05. What time does the lost property office close? I asked.
10 o'clock.
The woman said.
I'm sorry, you're 5 minutes late. But it's okay. I told them your name, and the office opens again at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Don't worry.
I thanked the woman, but I wasn't happy. I had no money and no keys to Sun Radio or to my house. I felt bad about Simon, bad about the show, bad about my bag, bad about everything. How could I lose my keys twice in one day? What a terrible day! I took my train ticket from my pocket and went back to Sun Radio. Chapter 5. Lost Property. I went back to Piccadilly Circus. It was 10:35 in the evening. Please be at work in Studio 5, Wing, I thought. Then you can open the door for me again, and I can sleep on the floor in my office. I called Wing, but he didn't answer. Then I saw a light in Jason's office. I called his number. I didn't want to call him, but I needed help.
Hello, Jason Hill.
He answered. Hi, this is Faye. Can you open the door for me?
Did you lose your keys again, Faye? You must be more careful,
he said. They're on my desk. I want to work on the Friends Hour tonight, I said. It wasn't true, but Jason opened the door for me.
You're working late, Faye. Very good.
Jason was nicer to me now. He isn't a bad boss, really, I thought. I went into my office. I wanted to forget about the day. I was tired, hungry, and alone. Just then, Jason came in.
What about that dinner, Faye? Don't worry, I can pay. I want to thank you for all your work on the show.
I was really tired. It was all very sudden. I couldn't think. I didn't want to be in the office, and Jason was really friendly. Okay, I said. We were good friends before, I thought. I got my coat and put some office keys in my pocket. I needed to come back there later. We went to a little Italian restaurant near Sun Radio. We ate well, and we drank a bottle of red wine. It was a nice evening, but it didn't feel right. Why is Jason doing this? I thought. At 11:30, it was time to leave. Jason paid, and we went to the door. Suddenly, everything changed. He tried to kiss me. "Stop it!" I told him.
Faye, take it easy. I can help you,
he said, and he put his hand on my leg. "Take your hands off me! You're crazy! I don't need your help!" I cried. I ran back to Sun Radio. Jason didn't run after me. It began to rain. I felt worse than before. At 8:30 the next morning, I woke up in the office. I thought about the show again. I was tired, and I had no ideas. It was Friday, and I didn't have much time. I needed to get my bag from Paddington Station. I opened my office door and saw Jason in front of me.
Faye, you look bad,
he said. My hair was terrible. My face was tired.
Where are you going?
He asked. Out, I said. Just then, Wing arrived.
Good morning. Terrible weather again,
said Wing.
Faye, you must tell Wing about our wonderful evening yesterday,
said Jason.
We had a very nice bottle of wine between the two of us.
He smiled and then went into his office. Wing didn't say a word, but he looked at me, and his eyes were big and sad. "You've got the wrong idea, Wing," I said. I didn't love Jason, but I didn't have time to tell Wing that. I needed to go back to Paddington Station. I got to the lost property office there at about 9:10.
Can I help you?
Asked the man there. I told him about my bag, and he asked me some questions.
When did you lose it? Where? What colour was it? What was in it?
I answered them all.
OK, miss. Let's see.
He went into the back of the office and looked around. Then a young man brought my bag out to me. I looked at the photo of Simon again. Is this young man Simon? I thought. But his hair was longer, and it was a different colour. Slowly, I walked away from the office and put the photo in my bag. Suddenly, I saw something new in my bag. It was a note. It wasn't there when I left the bag in the card shop. It said, "Meet me in the coffee shop at 10 o'clock. We need to talk." I looked at my watch. It was only 9:30. I spoke to some more people in the station. Again, they looked at the photo of Simon, but nobody knew him. I wanted to cry. I tried to call Wing, but he didn't answer. At 10 o'clock, I went to the coffee shop. The man there smiled at me. He remembered me from the night before. I paid for a coffee and sat in a chair near the door. Who put that note in my bag? I thought. Perhaps they know something about Simon. I waited for 10 minutes, but nobody came. I finished my coffee. I was ready to go. Then a young man came into the shop. It was the young man from the lost property office.
Are you Faye friend?
He asked. Yes, I answered.
Can I sit down?
Of course, I said. I looked carefully at him again, and suddenly I took the photo of Simon from my bag. His hair was different. It was longer, and it was a different colour. But the face in the photo and the young man's face were the same. I couldn't stop looking at the young man in front of me. I couldn't believe it. It was Simon Jones. Chapter 6. Time to talk. Simon, is it really you? I asked.
Yes, Faye. I put the note in your bag. I work in the lost property office. But why are you looking for me?
It's a long story, I said. We talked for the next 30 minutes.
Look, I'm 25 years old,
said Simon.
I'm not a child. Why didn't Mum tell me about my real dad? I needed to leave home. I needed time to think. Do you understand?
Yes, and your mother understands too. But she wants you to come back home.
Well, I have a room in a flat now. Ahmed helped me to find it. I don't want to live with my mother again.
Is that Ahmed Khan? I asked.
Yes, that's right. He has lots of shops in London. Some of them have flats upstairs. Ahmed told me about your visit to his shop.
Yes, I met him. But he didn't tell me about your flat.
I know. I told him, please don't give people my address. Ahmed always keeps his promises. He's a very good friend.
So, Ahmed Khan's story wasn't all true. But he only wanted to protect Simon. I understood. You don't need to leave your flat, Simon, I said. But your mother wants to see you.
I'm not ready to see her. Look, Faye, why are you so interested in us? This is nothing to do with you.
I know that, I said. But your mother called me. She asked for my help. Family is important, you know. We sometimes forget it, but it's true. My mother died 6 months ago. I didn't talk to her for a long time before she died. And now, I can never make friends with her again. You and your mother need to talk.
Okay, then perhaps you can help me.
Of course, I said. Just then, I had a good idea. I could help the Jones family and change my show at the same time. I'm going to do my best, but you must help me too. I wrote Simon's telephone number in my notebook. Then I went back to the office excitedly. I had work to do. I needed to speak to Wing about Jason too. I worked hard in Studio 5 for the rest of the day. I saw Wing many times, but we couldn't talk. Before I went home, I called Simon and then Mrs. Jones. I asked Mrs. Jones, "Can you come to Sun Radio to talk on the Friends Hour?" I didn't tell her about Simon. The next day was Saturday. Wing met Simon at 9:30. I met Mrs. Jones at 10 o'clock. "We're going to talk about families on today's show," I told her. We went into Studio 5 at 10:50. The show began at 11 o'clock.
4, 3, 2, 1, on air.
I looked at Mrs. Jones and smiled. The music played. "My name's Faye Friend, and this is the Friends Hour. Today we're talking about families. My guest is Margaret Jones." Mrs. Jones talked about Simon. Simon listened to the show in Wing's office, but Mrs. Jones didn't know that. She told the listeners about her family and about Simon's real father.
Jeff is Simon's real father, but he didn't want children. He was selfish, and he didn't want to marry me. I was pregnant, but he wasn't interested. He went to live in Australia, and I never saw him again.
"So, what about your husband, Peter? What was he like?" I asked.
Peter Jones was a very different man. He truly loved me, and he wanted to be a good father to Simon. He married me before Simon was born. We never talked about Jeff after that. We were happy. I never found the right time to tell Simon. Then, one day, he found some letters from Jeff. He didn't understand. He was angry with me, and he left home.
We talked on air for 15 minutes. Then I asked Mrs. Jones, "Can you close your eyes for a minute?" At first, she didn't understand, but then she closed them. At the same time, Simon came into Studio 5. Then Mrs. Jones opened her eyes. For a second, they didn't say a thing. Then, suddenly, Mrs. Jones spoke.
"I'm really happy to see you, Simon."
It was really difficult for you, Mum, and I never knew. Peter was a true father to me. He was wonderful. Why didn't you tell me?
I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you, but I never found the right time.
It doesn't matter. We can talk now. It was wrong of me to walk out. I'm sorry.
They were happy and sad at the same time. They talked and talked. I was really excited. I felt good about helping the Jones family. And I felt good about the show too. Then I remembered the meeting with Jason on Monday. And I remembered about Wing too. I felt terrible again. On Sunday, I stayed in bed for a long time. I wanted to forget about Monday. I thought about getting a new job. But I didn't want to leave Sun Radio, Studio 5, or the Friends Hour. Suddenly, I understood something. I didn't want to lose my job, but most of all, I didn't want to lose Wing. I was in love with him. I went to work early on Monday morning. My meeting with Jason was at 10 o'clock. At 9:30, Wing came into the studio. I was ready to talk to him. I loved him, not Jason. He needed to know. Wing, we need to talk, I said. It's about me and Jason. You don't understand.
Yes, I do, Faye. It's nothing to do with me. Forget it,
he said. Then he left the room. I wanted to cry. I must tell him the truth, I thought. So I wrote a note for him. Don't you understand? I love you, Wing, not Jason. Love, Faye. But I didn't give the note to Wing in the end. I couldn't. I felt stupid about it. Suddenly, I looked at my watch. It was 10 o'clock. Time for my meeting. His office. I knocked on Jason's door and waited. I felt really ill.
Come in, Faye,
I heard. But it wasn't Jason's voice. It was a woman. I went into the room and saw two people there. Jason and his boss, Amy Jackson.
Sit down, Faye,
said Amy. Jason said nothing. I'm going to lose my job, I thought.
Faye, the new Friends Hour show on Saturday was truly wonderful,
said Amy.
The listeners loved it, and we want you to do the same show, all about families and their problems, every day. You get a pay rise to go with your new job too.
Jason tried to smile, but he couldn't.
Jason's moving up to Studio 10 next month,
said Amy.
So you can have his office on this floor. And Wing can work on a new show too. He's ready for it. Please tell him the news. He can see me about it this afternoon.
I left Jason's office. I felt happy about the show and happy for Wing. I wanted to tell him the good news. I found him in my office with a big smile on his face.
Faye, why didn't you tell me before?
He said. He hugged me and kissed me. What do you mean? I laughed. Do you know about our new jobs?
New jobs? No, don't be stupid. I found your note on the desk. I read it. And I love you too, Faye.
I kissed him back. That was a month ago. Now my new show is on air every day. The listeners love the Friends Hour. Lots of interesting people call me. They're looking for lost friends and family. Things are different in Studio 5 too. I don't work with Wing these days. He has a new show. I never see him at work, but it doesn't matter, because he's my boyfriend. And we're really very happy. Wing and I.